everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are listening to the audiobook of Above the Clouds, Below the Stars. And we are currently on chapter 1, part 2. I twisted and turned. Sleep wasn't my companion that night. I shifted to the living room, slumped into the sofa, the silence of the flat wrapping around me like a fog. The training, the responsibility, it felt heavier than the wings I once loved wearing. My thoughts were noisy, but my heart was tired, torn between duty and the simple joys I longed for. It was in this state of melancholy that Lorraine opened the door. Lorraine, my flatmate, my unexpected blessing in this foreign land. She was one of the sweetest people I've ever met. She had a chocolate brown short hair with a cheerful personality. Her presence carried a certain softness, as though she brought spring with her wherever she went. Her voice was honey sweet, and her laughter always felt like sunshine spilling through the curtains. She's of French origin but settled in South Africa. Her goal in life is to build a house of her own. She joined a couple of years after me, and we've been inseparable ever since. She knows every secret of my life and supports me unconditionally. During her first vacation, she took me to her hometown, to her newborn niece. Her family soon became one of my greatest blessings. They called me family, and I visited them with Lorraine once at least a year. Even though we were inseparable, we hardly saw each other. Our rosters never matched, our schedules always pulling us in opposite directions, like two stars orbiting different skies. But on those rare days when our paths did cross, it felt like a gift. She walked in, her uniform still neat, but her eyes betraying the fatigue of a long day. "You're still up?" she asked with that bright tone of hers. "My Narita got cancelled," I said with a straight face. She laughed. "I had an instinct about this, but what happened?" "I have the premium training scheduled." "Why do these things happen to me?" I asked sadly. "Don't do drama. This is amazing news. Congratulations!" she screamed. I ignored her excitement and told her that I had made some food and offered her a plate. She didn't refuse. She never did. Instead, she sat down at the dining table, gently tucking her hair behind her ears, and listened as I fussed about the training again. She shared a few onboard incidents too. Her stories painted with humor, a touch of drama, and her natural liveliness. I laughed, really laughed, and in her company, I forgot about promotions and training and the heavy ache of disappointment. She finished her meal, stretched, and with a sweet thank you, disappeared into her room to rest. The flat was silent again, but not heavy anymore. Her presence had brushed away the dust of gloom, leaving the air lighter, brighter, happier. I felt a little more human, a little less broken. After a while, I decided I couldn't sit indoors any longer. I craved the open air, the company of nature, the embrace of my favorite garden in the nearby park. I plucked a book from my shelf and reached for the old takeaway coffee cup that had been sitting staring at me from the corner of my kitchen for days. It felt almost forgotten, neglected, but tonight it found its purpose. I brewed myself a strong latte, poured it into the cup, and smiled at the thought of sitting under the sky with a book and a drink. I slipped into a full-sleeved white shirt, paired it with dark olive green shorts, and laced up my white shoes. My watch, as always, was fastened around my wrist. I never left the house without it. My father had passed that habit down to me. a quiet reminder that time was precious and never to be wasted. Alongside it sat the sleek silver bracelet with its single charm, a little sparkle of personality that I always carried with me. The early morning air greeted me gently as I stepped outside. The sky was painted in soft, vague oranges and yellow from far, the kind of hues that make you forget your troubles for a moment. A lazy breeze danced across the park, carrying the faint fragrance of blooming flowers. The pathways, lined with neat gravel and patches of grass, seemed to invite me deeper in. I walked slowly, savoring it all, a couple of strolled hand in hand along the curved walkway, while an old man sat on the bench, reading a newspaper with the calmness of someone who had seen it all. Everything around me felt alive, and by simply being part of it, so did I. I found my favorite spot beneath the sturdy tree, its branches stretching out like protective arms. I spread out on the grass, opened my book, and sipped my coffee. With every page, the world around me blurred into the background, leaving me alone with the story in my hands and the comfort of nature cradling me. By the time the sun raised up, the air had started flowing a little faster. The trees woke up. The park grew a little busy with small tea shops opening and morning walks. The colors brightened the place. I closed my book and leaned back. I felt alive again, not because of promotions, not because of achievements, but simply because I had given myself a peaceful morning. I finally returned home and reheated what was left of the food, sat by the small dining table, and ate in silence. I carried my plate to the sink, washed it quietly, and looked around my little flat. I smiled at the thought that Lorraine is already asleep, curled under her blanket after a long day. Somehow, knowing she was here made the space feel more lively. Later, as I changed into my nightwear and placed my watch carefully on the bedside table, I laid down and thought that I would survive the storm of training by holding on to little things that made me feel alive, by noticing moments of calm and happiness even when the road ahead was rough. As my eyelids grew heavier, I drifted into sleep, ready to face the unknown tomorrow. And that's the end of chapter 1. I hope to see you in chapter 2. Thank you for listening. Bye bye. Take care.